Have you ever experienced a situation where you just feel blank? You know, you're trying so hard to think about that innovative idea or that thing that you just need to do, but then for some strange reasons, your thoughts aren't just flowing, things aren't just connecting, and you just feel totally lost. Often, when this happens, it is a reflection of something that is happening in your personal life. I often say that when you feel unhappy, when you feel overwhelmed, you can barely create anything. I've had clients who are, maybe having relationship problems or having one form of difficulty or the other in their personal lives, and it affects their productivity, it affects their ability to show up and do the things that they know they need to do. This particular problem begins to show up in the way you are working. Things that you used to enjoy doing, things that you used to do very effortlessly before, now becomes very difficult. Or your body just shuts down. You begin to fall or feel ill, very, very ill, and things like that. And sometimes it isn't even just about having, a relationship problem. Sometimes it could be that you have a family member who isn't very well, and it's taking a toll on you, or maybe the external events of your environment, say the current reality of your country, like we have in Nigeria right now, or the community you live in, or something will just trigger that uneasiness inside of you, and it becomes very, very difficult for you to show up the way you're supposed to. And this shows up in your work, it shows up in your relationships. Now, when you're not feeling your best, what happens is that you're also not operating at your best when it comes to your relationships. Now, you are present physically in some of your relationships, but then emotionally and mentally you're somewhere else. And when you begin to show up that way, the people you are spending time with or the people you are in that relationship with will always know that you are not there 100%. You want a situation where when you're present, you are absolutely present. How do we move from this place where we have a troubled mind, there is so much chaos and uneasiness, to this point where you're able to show up regardless of whatever it is that is happening to you? Because the truth is, life is always going to happen. Things are always going to go wrong. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Family members are always going to fall ill or something. Somebody will get into one trouble or the other. Something is always going to happen. You're going to fall ill. Somebody is going to fall ill. So what do you do about it? I came up with an acronym for LIVE, LIVE, and we're going to get into it. So this will help you settle your troubled mind and then help you show up better. So the first is L, and this is for letting go. Now, for a lot of us, we worry so much, and worry often comes from a place of control. We want to be able to control our reality, we want to be able to control a lot of things, or when things are not going the way we want them to or the way we had envisioned before, we get into this space of resistance. So until we get to a point where we're able to let it go and live life in the present, we would always be fighting. There will be a war inside of us. There will be this resistance that we keep going back and forth with, and then this gets to create a very troubled mind that does not allow us to create at the level we're supposed to create. And another part of the L is leverage. So there are a lot of things that are happening to us, and rather than seeing it as a disadvantage, we can flip it to begin to see it as an advantage that we get to leverage on to build something amazing. So let's say a family member is ill. So a few months ago, my father was ill, and we were going back and forth, to the hospital. He had to undergo surgery and, things like that. And the health condition he was dealing with is something I now talk to people about. And because again, when you have somebody who is ill, you're going to start reading a lot, you're going to be visiting the doctors a lot, you're going to be asking a lot of questions. So I would like to believe that I have developed some level of expertise in that, and ensuring that I also speak to people about it so they can either prevent themselves. It's something that is very preventable, and the earlier you begin to take care of yourself and do all you're supposed to do, the better. So I am leveraging on that experience, that thing that isn't working well, to help other people improve and get better. Now, what is that thing you're going through? Is it parenting issues? Is it issues with your siblings? Is it issues in your relationship? What are those things that you think are disadvantages, that you think are problems that are not allowing you show up at the level or the capacity you can show up? Rather than see it as a challenge or something that should hold you back, you can leverage on it, build on it, and shine through it. The second is for you to set your intention. Actions are based according to intention, and it is very important that you begin to set an intention for the type of life you want to live, the type of reality you want to create for yourself. So what is that going to look like? And when you become focused on that, it becomes easy for you to create it. For a lot of people, where they just live their lives the way it comes, but I know you are not going to be one of those people. At least you watching this would not be one of those people, even if you were before. It is very important that you're very intentional about life, and you being intentional is that you're setting intentions on what you want, how you want your life to turn out, the type of experiences you want. And this isn't about controlling. This isn't about you saying it has to be this. This is a desire. Now you sit with this desire and you ponder over it over and over again until you seek ways to birth it into reality and it becomes your reality. So you're not necessarily trying to fix things or control things at your own time in your own way, but then you know what you want, and then you're being very intentional about doing all the things that need to get done to create it. Another part of I is intuition. Now, for a lot of us, we always feel it, right? We always know, or we have this little voice that talks to us before we take some certain decisions, telling us this thing isn't good for us, or we should go on to do this thing. And when you don't listen to that voice, what happens is that you end up regretting it. So for you to be able to start living your life well, you need to tune into your intuition. And then women have very high intuition, and men also have it, but they need to tune into it more often so that it gets louder. The more you work with your intuition and you respect it, the louder it becomes. So at first it's going to feel like this very faint little voice, and then before you know it, it becomes a very known voice, and it becomes your inner compass. And this is how you build alignment in your life, because for a lot of people, we suffer not because of things that are happening to us. We suffer because we are not listening to that inner voice that is nudging us to take some certain actions, and we are not living our lives in alignment with what we know we should be doing, or what that voice is saying to us. So more than you think you do. The main thing is for you to trust yourself enough, and for you to be able to trust yourself, you need to connect with that inner voice inside of you. Now, the next point is V. So we have our L, we have our I, we have V, and then V is for visualize. Now you've set your intention, you're connecting with your intuition, you have a clear picture of the type of life you want to live. It's now for you to create a mental image about of this life. I have a video where I spoke about using words to create our reality. You start by having the thoughts, and then you have a mental representation of it, and it just connects to your emotions, your behaviors, your actions, and it becomes your reality. So in this case, you are sitting with this thought, you're thinking about that life you want for yourself. Because the truth is, if you're not intentional about the life you want to live, you're going to settle for anything that life hands over to you. So you want to be very intentional about it, and when you're talking about it, you are seeing it in your mind's eye. It's even recommended that you spend first few minutes of your day and the last few minutes before going to bed having this picture in your mind. You obsess over it. It's almost impossible for you to obsess over anything and you don't get it. You are often going to get it if you are, doing the things you're supposed to do. So you're letting go of the control. You're leveraging on all the experiences you're going through in life. You're setting your intentions. You're connecting with your intuition, and then you're visualizing it. You have this mental picture of what that thing is. Now, for a lot of us, when we are asked what we want, we say, "Oh, I want money," or "I want to live a good life." What is a pictorial representation of that money that you want? As a child, you would always have these pictures. You need to go back to those pictures you used to have while you were a child and leverage on it, see how you can revive it or do better. So, one of my sisters, when she was very young, when you ask her what she wants to become when she grows up, she tells you she wants to sit on a chair, these rolling chairs, and just roll on the chair. That for her was what she wanted to become. And this was informed, I believe, largely by Nollywood movies then, where you would see the rich people who are the bosses in the organization or in the movie sitting on these chairs and rolling. So for her, that looked like success. That was what success looked like for her. Guess who has that chair in her home office right now? We have all those pictures, and it's very important that we know that our mind is very powerful. If we can see it through our mind's eye, it's very easy for us to create it. And this is our programming. And I often say that we need to be very careful the things we feed our minds, because anything we are taking in through our eyes and our ears and even our mouths are somehow programming our minds. So we want to be very careful the things we say, the things we allow our ears to hear, and the things we see. When you have a very clear picture of that thing that you want, you hold it for very long. As adults, they say our attention span is very short. Now you can imagine how what it's going to look like for you when you stay with a picture, you stay with this idea of the life you want to create for yourself. While other people are getting distracted, jumping from one thing to the other, you are staying persistent, you are present, and you're holding this picture. What's going to happen is that you'll be creating results that other people are not creating, and that is what's going to set you apart. And the last part is E, which is emotions. Of course, I'm always going to tie it back to our emotions. Now, while you're visualizing what you want, you need to also feel it in your body. What is the emotion for wealth for you? What is the emotion for health for you? For some people, they have this picture in their minds, but then the emotion attributed to it is completely opposite. You want a situation where you're creating an alignment between the picture you have in your mind for this thing you want to create, for this life you want to create for yourself, as well as the emotions you want to feel. Now, this morning I got an amazing compliment, and somebody here in the studio told me I'm always happy. And I wasn't always like this. There was a time when I used to be very grumpy because things were not always going the way I wanted them to go, and things like that. But I decided I wasn't going to wait until I had the life that I wanted for me to feel the way I would like to feel when that life happens. Rather, I began to intentionally work on feeling good, regardless of whatever it is that was happening around me. I decided to feel good, to enjoy to enjoy the experience of life itself, and just be very present in all of my experiences. This helped me to live, or this is one of the reasons why I feel very very chilled with life, because I just believe whatever it is that is happening outside of me is out of my control, but then the way I feel is within my control. So as much as possible, I optimize for feeling joy, feeling happiness as much as possible. And this is one reason why some people, especially people in my personal life, my friends and family, think I am never serious, because I always laugh over everything. When something happens that is unpleasant, I just laugh over it, because I won't allow it take over my peace of mind as much as possible. So you need to decide what your predominant emotion is going to be for you, and you make very intentional effort to stay in it, because life is going to test you. You don't want a situation where everybody knows when you're not when something is not working for you, because you're very gloomy and all of that. But you want a situation where your emotional state is somewhat very consistent, and this helps you to live an amazing life. So first, you are letting go of your expectations, you're letting go of control, you're just living in the present, you're releasing all the things that is there for you to release, and then you're leveraging on all those not so pleasant experiences, and from there you are tuning into your intuition and setting intentions. You are visualizing that life that you want for yourself, and then you move to feel it. You move to determine the emotions, the predominant emotions you want to feel, and the predominant emotions you want people to feel when they come in contact with you, and things like that. And that, I believe, is how you get to go from having a troubled mind, allowing everything that is happening around you to get into you, to you creating your own reality, where you're able to function and operate and produce at a very high level, regardless of whatever it is that is happening around you. I hope you found this useful. Do well to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye.